Good morning, Sally. It's so good to be back after the smoky break we've had. My goodness.
Smoky and wet break, and Happy New Year, Harry.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you. The East Coast has been a little bit burning, but of course, it's only affected a small part of the country. Yeah. Now, what are we talking about today? We're talking about something really topical.
I know. Well, it's something that I found myself feeling over the Christmas period. So I thought, let's look into it. Loneliness. And researching it, I didn't realise what an impact it has and how widespread it is. Loneliness is, whoa, it's up there.
Yeah, well, when I did my wellness diploma, it was one of the things that came up again and again and again. And I didn't have to look far on my bookshelves. I think I found 4 books which, identify it as a key factor.
Yep.
Not only longevity, but good health, well-being, happiness. It's really important. So I'll start off with my quote.
Oh, yes.
When I thought about loneliness, how did I feel? I kind of shut my eyes. For me, loneliness is like standing in a desert without water or shade.
Ooh.
It's hard. It's really hard.
Really hard. It's like a void.
It's not the same as being alone, though, is it?
No, that's right, because you can be very content with just being yourself and doing your things, but it's socially isolated can be okay, but it's when it goes, that emotion of that links in with the loneliness, that it can be quite depressing. It's just that emptiness.
So there's I've got a few books today. There's a guy called Tom Rath and Harter, and they work for the Gallup organisation. And you've heard of Gallup polls?
Yeah.
This was a book that they derived by analysing the data in the Gallup polls. So it's data rich.
Yeah.
And it's about well-being. And what they found was that that people, those with fewer social ties, just fewer, not no, but fewer, double the risk of dying from heart disease.
Whoa.
And they experience twice as many colds. And they also found that to thrive, you need 6 hours a day of social contact.
Is that right? 6 hours.
Now, some of this can be online. It doesn't all have to be face-to-face.
Yep.
Really interesting. And those who have a friend in the workplace are 7 times more engaged in the work.
Wow.
So they're happier.
Yep.
And there was Leo Galland is a guy in New York who's a great wellness guy. He works with Dr. Siegel and Andrew Weil, and pioneer of integrated medicine. He quotes a guy from John Hopkins who talks about relationships being one of the key. It's actually its first key pillar of healing. And they've done some experiments around married couples. They get them into hospital and they scratch one of the couples, and then the other couple puts their hand on the scratch or not, and it accelerates the healing.
Wow.
So that loving touch has such an impact. And there's another study from Stanford which shows that this was done amongst breast cancer survivors who are often alone, so they've lost their husbands already. They get breast cancer, they survive, so they're socially isolated. If you then put these people in a kindred group, so a breast cancer survivors group, you can overcome social isolation. And so we know that marriage, close friendships, belonging to a community group or church reduces mortality rate from all causes.
And having a pet?
Really substantial, yeah. And we also know that the most socially isolated women, and women are more socially isolated because they tend to outlive their men, experience 3 times the death rate of those that are not.
Is that right? Well, yeah, because I had it here that you die, it's greater than smoking or obesity for premature death because of loneliness now. It's
Mm.
huge. And it, don't like to use the term, but it's being bandied around that there's an epidemic of loneliness, and it's massive mental health risks with depression and yeah, I think the stats that I had from Australia here, I had 1 in 4 experience loneliness, and 1 in 2 people report feeling lonely for 1 day each week. Now that's pretty high. But also, I didn't realise this: 1 in 4 Australian households are lone person households.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
The number of lone
Yeah.
number of single person households is very high, and single parent households. So I mean, the thing about having not another warm body in your bed makes a difference.
It's true. It's true. And that's why I'm considering a pet, because something to snuggle. It's true. Where's my research on all of that? Like snuggling.
Are you thinking of a python?
No, I don't.
Python.
I have missed you so much. No, something a bit furrier than that. Yeah.
I don't think snakes come furry.
And I was surprised at the age groups with loneliness. I get it with the older age groups, particularly when your partner has passed. But youngies, 15 to 19 were up there. And also, and it was particularly more in men, wait for this one, men 25 to 44 on high incomes are more lonely, like the higher income ones. They just feel more lonely. But women of all ages on low incomes tend to feel more lonely. But why men on high incomes? Is it because of
we know from this work,
Yeah.
from Gallup work, that over 70,000, money makes no difference to happiness.
Yeah, right. Love that one. Over 70 grand.
So, what probably happens is they're in high stress work situations. They're workaholics, and that's their life.
Yep, and the stress and pressure, I suppose.
Yeah, and they probably don't get home, don't get to see the rest of the family, and so on.
Kids,
blah, blah, blah.
private schools, all that sort of stuff. Holidays. Yeah, interesting. But wait for this one. You're in this category. The lowest levels of loneliness for Australians is over 60, at those over 65 who are married. Woohoo! Harry, you're the winner today.
Yeah, right. Interesting. And it's all about the heart at the end of the day. And the heart is, the clinic principal where I work is obsessed with the heart. It's what he's really interested in. There's been a really interesting book, you may know the work by Paul Pearsall, wrote a book called The Heart's Code. This was the book that popularised some of the impacts of heart transplants.
Oh, yeah.
You take on the characteristics. He talks about quite a few studies where you have these family-based rituals which are really important for health and well-being. So kids who have regular family dinners have fewer colds, fewer infections. Teenagers who eat family meals 5 times a week smoke less, drink less, and do drugs less.
Wow.
That's the Cincinnati Children's Hospital study. So really, these social rituals where we have engagement with the heart, with love.
Yeah.
Simple rituals, eating around a table together regularly.
Yeah.
Really powerful.
Wow. Because you're always talking about that. It's about that time together. That's one of the common themes when you're always, really boosting that immune system too. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Gets you out of fight and flight.
What was that last bit?
Gets you out of fight and flight.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Because there's nothing better than feeling calm. Because when you're lonely, you're in a state of stress as well. Well, I find I get myself in a state of stress and have to do.
Well, I'm going to give you a quote now
Okay,
This,
bring it on.
this is tough love. Sorry, Sally.
Yep, bring it on.
This is Jean-Paul Sartre, the famous
Yep.
French philosopher. He said, if you are lonely when alone, then you're in bad company.
Well, yes. Yes.
Sorry,
Very bad.
sorry. I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but yeah.
Well, I like to keep myself entertained, and I don't watch TV, but for a number of months I was just watching all the chick flicks on Netflix. If I see another Jennifer Aniston movie, I tell you what, I'm going to go insane.
Do you like, you don't watch TV, but have you thought of SBS On Demand?
Oh, I'm sure I could get it, yes. Actually, there was a Mosley thing.
Well, it's free. It's free. You
Yeah.
just download the app on your phone or whatever.
Yeah.
They have, a lot of European movies.
Mm.
They're much better structured. They're much more interesting because they come from different cultures. So, I mean, what you're talking about is we're out of American culture.
Yeah.
Netflix, they're all American, probably.
Yeah.
Whereas you get this enormous variety and smorgasbord from other cultures.
Good one.
I highly recommend SBS Online,
Okay.
SBS On Demand. Yeah.
Yeah, good one, Harry. It's true because you just want to chill out sometimes, it's that emptiness when you're tired at the end of the day, and it's just quiet. It's just like
I'll send you an email with one of their emails that lists a whole lot of things, movies to watch, and you can take your pick.
You were talking about single parents and whatever, and the stats show that more men have this higher social isolation. 38% of men that are single parents feel that loneliness and really isolated, as opposed to 18% of women. I mean, women are generally, I find the chicks are pretty social, come out, and also, there's lots of chicks are really good with the community stuff, gym groups and
Did you get that? I sent you a recommendation to connect with that woman in Sydney who does Wild Women on Top.
What's that about? I like the name.
Her organisation. Anyway, she sponsors big walks. So they're 50K walks, coast walks. She does one in Melbourne. And she was saying, you have to train for 50K walk. Unless you're somebody as fit as you wouldn't need to. But she said that the women, they walk and talk.
Yeah.
Exactly. The men just walk.
Yeah. It's so true, because I walk every day, and I often do it with girlfriends, and it's a double winner because you're exercising, but you sharing stuff and communicating and learning and growing. It's great. It's great.
But connect with her. She could be a really good contact for you.
I've got 2 things now. Yeah. Wild Women on Top, which I love the name.
Yes, I thought of you immediately.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Now, there's something else I had here. Not being in a relationship is a huge factor. It is a huge factor. And, these days, it's difficult with relationships, but, a relationship with a pet is a good start.
Yeah,
that's another responsibility, and that's my issue about the time and responsibility. Being
well, if you had a python, you could wrap around your neck.
No, I can deal with anything. Spiders, the works, but not snakes and not a.
What about a blue-tongue lizard? They snuggle up. They'd be nice.
What was that?
Blue-tongue lizard.
When I did have a dog before it passed, it used to lie there and then stick its tongue in my mouth. It was disgusting. Disgusting. And so that I couldn't do that with a blue tongue, thanks.
The coolest pet I've ever seen was in a market in Darwin, and this guy had a chameleon on his shirt.
Oh, yeah. A pet cocky. My grandparents had one of those.
They'll outlive you.
What was that?
They'll outlive you.
Oh, yeah. Is that right?
I think they live about 70.
Right. Yeah, I haven't got that amount of time left. So, high risk factors for feeling lonely, living alone, which, as you pointed out with split families, is up there. Not being in a relationship. getting disconnected from a community, so not being part of a community and just isolating yourself. And unemployment was up there, and with the lack of financial satisfaction, not affording to go out, or it's an expensive world to live in. Every time you step out the door, there's $20 going on, whatever. It's expensive.
Unless you go for a walk.
Well, correct. With a friend.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I think it's also important to be aware of when you can see people are sort of shrinking inwards, or isolating themselves, and phone call, or whatever, do you want to catch up for a walk or something like that, because injury is another thing. I've got a girlfriend who's feeling quite isolated because she's incapacitated. It's hard to get around, and that's another thing as well. So in some ways social media came up, in some ways it was good, but in some ways it was also isolating because of the shallow nature of it. But keeping up, I love it in the sense that I've got friends overseas and I can keep in contact with them like that and see how the kids are getting on and whatever. That's keeping that connection going. But yes, social isolation. Oh, what have I got here? Social isolation, like loneliness, mental health, we said, leads to addictions, emotional distress, suicide is up there. Earlier development, dementia, and what was the other one? I can't remember the one. Poor health habits, so you tend to like graze more or smoke or drink more. Poor sleep gets your blood pressure up, and as you mentioned before, it affects your immune system. And your overall feeling of well-being is shit.
And the poor eating probably generates obesity.
Yep, absolutely. So, interesting topic. And it's
so my headline for this topic was "Loneliness is Deadly."
Harry, spot on. I love it. It's so true. And it's becoming more and more of an issue, or a headline in Australia these days, which it should. It's affecting so many people.
Yeah.
And I was really shocked at, the men, 40s to 50s, was right up there.
Well, they don't have the social skills.
Yeah.
We're not taught how to do it by our dads, and we're not naturally as connected as women.
Plus, as you said, in that age sort of bracket, there's a lot of financial pressure, it's on as well. So my recommendations, and we've gone through this a bit, was just find a community, be part of the gym, bridge, golf, netball, cricket. My parents belong to U3A, University of the Third Age, and it's been really good. Dog park, but that leads into get companionship with a pet. If you're not in a relationship, or not wanting to be in a relationship, or you're not prepared to go online and have a look, but that's a whole nother topic. Grab a pet. 62% of Aussies have a pet, and of those, 60% feel more socially connected because of it. I know walking the dogs when I used to have them, you stop all the time. It's like when I used to push the pram with the twins. Stop, and it's the same thing with the dog.
Unconditional love, isn't it?
Yeah. Someone to chat to, so that you're not going stir crazy. And the other thing I had on here was volunteer work, or volunteering is also good, or just getting part of a community organisation, or
definitely,
It's very like fitness at breakfast, perfect. You love it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's right. So I've got a little model. It's not original, but it's a model. 6 hours a day socialising with friends, family and colleagues, including online.
Yep.
Then the second one is strengthen mutual connections in your network. So make sure that you connect connections that you've got.
Yep.
And spend social time moving as well as when you're socialising. So talk when you walk.
Love that. I love that.
Improve your health outcomes. Yeah.
Yeah, walk and talk. Keeps down the obesity. I love it. I started doing my model and it was too hard. So, but it's really interesting. 6 hours a day. Wow. And it was interesting because geographically it wasn't showing as a huge thing where you're actually located. I get it when you are isolated out, but with the internet and that sort of thing, it can keep you connected. So it wasn't as huge a factor as I thought it would have been.
Yeah, well, I think small communities are more cohesive.
Mm,
So I think you can be more lonely in a large city, stuck in an apartment block.
yep. Yep. It just reminded me because I watched it, it was ages ago. It was some sort of a doco, and it was showing the longest living, where people lived the longest. And it was in Europe, and it was because of the community. And it was people just in their little laneways that would just sit out there, and everyone would walk by and say hello to the old bloke on the stool or whatever. And they were the longest living people because they were happy, because they felt a sense of community and they weren't feeling lonely. Even though they were living on their own, they just spent their day just sitting out there, just saying hello to people. And I know down at a dog park, when I used to be very involved there was a lady that lived to late 90s, and that was her highlight of the day. She didn't have a dog, but was to come out and sit and pat the dogs because she loved them more than humans. But, you know, to have that sense of community and having something that she could do every day really, really helped.
Really important. Yeah. And how many people in our society don't know their neighbours?
Oh, every second one. Like, it's just great big, you know, walls up, isn't it?
McMansions in Melbourne.
I'm looking at them everywhere.
What on earth do people need all these rooms for? I've got no idea. Household size is dropping.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to downsize. It's too much work. Too many gutters that I can't reach, Harry. That's a whole nother topic. Anyway, well, it's been wonderful.
Spider-Woman.
Oh, yeah, I can do that. Well, it's been wonderful reconnecting with you again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Good
to see you, Tal.
New year, new you, new decade.
2020. Yeah, wow.
Bring it on. See you, Dal.
Okay. Catch you later. Bye-bye.